I got compared to Zombie Man once because I'm always late to upload and, you know, everyone thinks I'm dead, so when I eventually come back it's like, surprise, I'm alive, you know, zombie. Strange that the only time I'm actually on some semblance of being on time is when I'm talking about Zombie Man. One Punch Man 101 Zombie Man was a very good chapter. This is how you introduce an S-class hero to me. This is like the perfect way to introduce an S-class hero. Not saying the other introductions haven't been good, because they've been some great ones, but like, you know, it was short and sweet and it was good. And I'm like, okay, know everything I need to know about Zombie Man? Sick. Another monster's out of the way, sick, and back to the story. We start off the chapter, first of all, with a great bit of cover art of Zombie Man with his sword and his gun out. Just, it looked really cool. Nothing to say, because that's the main thing I could say about Zombie Man is, he looks really cool, and I'll talk more about his design when he gets into Pure Blood, when we start talking about Pure Blood, but generally, this whole first bit of the chapter was just to kind of show this is what Zombie Man can do, and this is how Zombie Man fights. So obviously, it's just like looking at all the small details for it more than anything. So first of all, he's basically going around like keeping to himself. He's like, what is Child Emperor up to? You know, like he sent me to do this and do that. Meanwhile, at the same time, he's fighting all these monsters who are attacking him. Like obviously, he's like blasting them full, like he's blowing their heads off with his gun, and then like that monster bursts through. The war is like, Zombie Man, prepare to die, and stabs him with his tentacles, and like that's the first time we really get to see Zombie Man's regeneration. So, because obviously, like, Zombie Man, first of all, is just kind of standing there, just like, okay. Like, and if you look at his wrist, he's actually got, like, you see how it works, because, love this little detail, like I do with, like, a lot of the woman writer art, is, you know, we see where he keeps his guns. So his guns he actually keeps under his, by his sleeves, so then he can just kind of, like, pop them out and or pop them back in, I imagine, so he can get his hands free for an axe or a sword, which I really liked, because obviously, like, it made sense, because obviously his arm was stabbed at multiple points there, so he couldn't move that one, so he was like, okay, and then he takes down that monster. But these monsters are nothing to Zombie Man. It's kind of shown by the fact that he's just kind of doing his own thing. He's like, but did he send me this way just to annoy me and tire me out? Because I'm fighting nothing but monsters here. And my favourite thing throughout this whole chapter was was the next bit that took place. I mean, this chapter was good in any case, but I think just that bit where the monsters are starting to charge the guy. I'm like, there's Zombie Man, get him. He's like, bring it. And like the pillar there, like Zombie Man walks in, the next panel, it's that same pillar, the monsters, you can see the second half of the monster's blood's going through, last panel, the Zombie Man just walks out of there like nothing. It's really cool. I was like, this is a cool guy, I'm liking it. Yeah. So that was just amazing. To me, that was the best bit of the chapter. I think it was more the frame. It was just something a bit visually different, and I loved it for that reason. So also with that, like, just that little interaction there, you actually get a good idea of how quickly he dispatched those monsters, because you obviously got the next panel, which is the full page, which is Zombie Man like, oh, I almost broke my bones. Well, actually, no, I did break my bones. And they're all just lying there bloodied and dead. But just like, the pillar size isn't that big, it's fairly small. Like, it only takes like a couple of steps, so Zombie Man is really good at dispatching monsters, despite him saying, like, you know, my forte is like being like undercover operations and spying and like gathering information rather than just, rather than fighting. I'm not really good of a fighter. And like, he can say that. Like, I don't expect him, like, obviously he's not like a Bang or an Atomic Samurai or a Genos or a Flashy Flash, but he can hold his own. From what I've seen, he's pretty damn strong. Like, he uses his regeneration to the best of his ability. So after he defeats those, obviously, we get to that bit where, like, the monster's like, oh, you're Zombie Man, that's great, follow us then, we've got an opponent for you. And he just kind of looks around, he's like, there's nothing I can do really, so that'll have to do. And we then very quickly get to the fight with Pure Blood, which I like. Once again, not wasting time with this chapter. I think it's because I didn't think Phoenix Man. I loved Phoenix Man and Child Emperor. Honestly, I did. It was great. It was a great fight. But I think obviously because we spent so much time on that fight in particular, maybe Murata's gone like, okay, we need to kind of like maybe pick things up a little too, because like this is all this fight was. This whole fight takes place in one chapter, and it's really good too. Because obviously Pure Blood is there. And like that's such a great bit of art as well. Like this chapter's full of great art, and like I think Murata might like Zombie Man quite a bit, because obviously we've seen it in like previous, like in cover pages as well. Like, you got the cover page where Zombie Man's got his gun against there and Saitama's sitting in the barrel. But Zombie Man's just got a cool design. The reason I wanted to talk about Pure Blood first of all, with his design. It's because obviously a lot of people seeing this as like, oh, you know, zombie versus vampire, the supernatural foes clashing against each other. However, due to how Zombie Man fights, he uses a lot of guns, swords, and axes. I always kind of perceive Zombie Man more like a monster hunter design, like a vampire hunter, you know, that kind of thing, like, you know, Van Helsing-ish, if I had to describe it. And mostly because, as we see and we've learned, like, you know, he hates being associated as a fake human or a fake monster. He considers himself a human. He considers himself a hero. And maybe that's why, like, he took that kind of outfit more than anything. Maybe that's why he was designed that way too. Is because obviously, you know, what the furthest thing from a monster is a monster hunter in that sense. You know, the opposites. You know, the yin and the yang. And I get that more than anything. I get it. Also, maybe I don't know a lot about Blade. Well, actually, no, that's not a lie. I know nothing about Blade, except for I've seen pictures of him. Blade, I believe, is a vampire who hunts vampires, and like he's got a kind of similar design to him, I guess, from what I've seen. So maybe there's some influence there as well. I really like that, and obviously, you know, the monsters there, they don't like Zombie Man, but they don't like Pureblood either, because he's like, Pureblood is a vampire, and he sucks their blood and kills them too to stay alive. So they're like, well, either way, we're gonna win, because they'll take each other out, one of them will be too tired to move afterwards, and then, boom, that's it. And we get to see Pureblood here, and Pureblood, maybe because it was only one chapter, like, he didn't really impress me, but that, like I said, like, that was mostly to do with one chapter, like, this was mostly supposed to, because Pureblood, he wasn't supposed to really impress me either. He's not an executive, he's not a Orochi, you know, he's not where Phoenix Man was before, he wasn't above the other. He wasn't like a mid-level person, he's a demon rank at that level. So it makes sense, obviously, that Zombie Man should be able to dispatch him quite easily. So once again, this chapter did not like waste time with the action either. So obviously, as the monsters talk to themselves, Pureblood basically goes in and he's like, oh, just ignore the flies. Like, you're an S-class hero, but I don't know much about you S-class heroes. Please, explain yourself. And then Zombie Man's just like, well, I guess I'm someone like this, and he starts shooting straight away. I love that. But then I also love that Pureblood was actually just using that as a distraction to try and attack him. Because, like, they both had the same idea as, like, you know, preemptive strikes. And straight away, I think the main thing Pureblood, I took away from Pureblood, obviously, we knew he was arrogant in the first place, because he's very much like, I am the one true monster, I deserve to be the best, and things like that, and, you know, he basically says on a, you know, and pretty much every time he takes down Zombie Man, he's like, that must have killed him for sure, but obviously he doesn't know a lot about Zombie Man at first in any case, so he's not like, oh, better be ready, because his name's Zombie Man, but obviously, it's monster arrogance on top of that, but then obviously Zombie Man just kind of like, immediately after he gets like, knocked down, he's like back up, ready to go kind of thing, and I love that. I think it was super cool. And like as Pureblood's having his moment, it's like, I am the one true vampire, I am the true monster that exists in the association. That's super close to his face. Great art! What a surprise! Mariah draws good. Who saw that coming? Zombie Man changes the ammo in his weapon, and it changes from like standard ammo obviously to super ammo pretty much. And like I'll talk about that in a second, but can someone answer this for me at least? Because I don't know. There's colour. There's colour in the translation I read as well. There's at least colour. Like the cartridge, the bullet cartridge is red, right? And why? I guess. Yeah, the bullet cartridge is red, and just because obviously you don't see this normally in manga. Like it's always black and white. Why is, like, has someone fan done that, or has a fan done that, or has Murata done that? I don't know, because obviously it's to signify that, you know, this is more deadly ammo, this is more powerful ammo, but it makes sense that Murata would do it, but it's just because obviously it's manga. It's never normally done. Okay, I'm just confused, that's all. If someone can answer that, that'd be great. And Zombie Man fires his super powerful bullets, right? His super ammo, he's got like explosive rounds, and like it goes boom. And one of my favourite things about how Zombie Man fights, as we see in this bit now, is obviously because, you know, Pureblood catches the bullets no problem, pretty much, and that's amazing. But how Zombie Man fights is great too, because he can use weapons that are not meant for normal people. We see this obviously, like with these guns now. You know, after he's fired it, the recoil on those bullets are so powerful that, you know, his arms are mangled up afterwards. But you know, literally in like a couple of pounds later, they're back to normal, and that's kind of like what's going to be interesting about how Zombie Man can fight is, and I want to, hopefully he's got a couple secret weapons in store apart from just like these powerful bullets, or maybe even more powerful bullets or better weapons that like would be super dangerous for normal people to use, but because of his regeneration, it's not a problem for him to use, and like this is what would be super interesting about a Zombie Man fight in the future, like if he goes up against one of the executives. But of course Pure Blood catches it and he literally throws it, like he flicks them back at Zombie Man. And at that point still, like, it's really just showing like, yeah, this is what Zombie Man can do. And it's amazing because, you know, he gets shot straight in the head, like his brain like takes some major damage and he's like back to normal, and his brain's like, his head starts regenerating. Obviously, you know, he gets pissed off at that point too, because Pure Blood's very much like, you know, oh, like, I've heard about this like this hero who's a phony monster, or should I say phony human. He's super sensitive about that, and he's like, you know, don't call me a phony human. Like, he's sensitive about this, and I'm really curious to learn about his past as well. We know obviously bits. We know more than anything. We know obviously that he is from the House of Evolution, and we know that he's got a history obviously with Dr. Genus because he was created there. But did he have a life before that, or was he just created in the House of Evolution? And maybe that's why he's sensitive, because he thought he was a regular human, but he can never truly be a regular human because obviously of his regeneration factor. Maybe he's technically immortal, because obviously we don't know. I don't know if age affects him. I imagine not if he's called Zombie Man. But without the actual knowledge of without like further knowledge of what happens, and I'm sure we'll find out in the story, maybe that's why he's super sensitive about being called a phony human or a phony monster in that sense, because obviously he doesn't want to be a monster, because that's why he's with the Hero Association. So straight after it goes for a sword fight pretty much. Obviously like Pure Blood extends one of his wings into like a blade, and you know, Zombie Man calls out his two swords and he's doing all these moves and he's like, let's go. And what I like, and once again we see how Zombie Man fights, is Zombie Man is a character who doesn't waste time, and it makes sense not to waste time, but instead of like, you know, Pure was like, oh, you're just another one of these funny monsters, you're nothing really compared to me. But what I like is obviously instead of trying to clash and like hold off the sword, hold off like the wing sword, instead of that he just like stops and he starts going straight for the neck. And like, this is how Zombie Man fights, obviously, because really, apart from his regeneration, he's a pretty normal guy, so he has to end fights quickly. And obviously, it's just a great way to see him fight. And like, maybe it's like, what a surprise, the hero wants to defeat the monster, so he tries to do it as quickly as I can. Just these small details though, rather than trying to overpower him, because obviously in this situation he can't overpower him, so he's got to do whatever he can to go for it. So, but you know, Pure Blood evades that, and like, it's just great seeing Zombie Man fight. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, but it's true, because I just love that bit where like Pure Blood like breaks his neck, like, and his head fully spins backwards, but at the same time he lifts up his gun and shoots him bang straight in the chest. Once again the deformed arm thing comes, but very quickly he regenerates back, his arm pops back to normal, and it's just super great. It's just a different style of fighting to anything I'm used to, so my brain's still trying to process it, but it's good. So obviously, like, he lands that hit, straight away Pure Blood kills one of the monsters and, like, absorbs it to regenerate himself. He's like, you're not the only one who can regenerate. And he's got a lot of generic vampire powers, which are cool to see at the very least, because like I said, the whole Monster Hunter vampire thing. So, because he turns into a lot of bats, he's like, your regeneration must have a limit. I'm going to wear it down to that point. And obviously he attacks him and, like, a bunch of other monsters to get back to full health. Whereas Zombie Man, like, he attacks him and he's done some damage, but Zombie Man actually absorbs one of the bats off him as well. Now, this is my question with Zombie Man's regeneration. Obviously, there's a lot of questions, like, is it natural? Most likely. But is there something to it where he needs to, like, absorb his energy? Like, not energy from opponents. Like, it sounds weird, but basically, Zombie Man keeps attacking, right? Obviously, he's in a situation where monsters are attacking him, so he's got to attack back. But maybe, like, his regeneration is affected by, like, you know, fighting opponents. I'm not 100%, like, I'm still trying to piece together this idea, because I only read this about an hour ago, and I've been trying to think about it, like, I've been doing other stuff, but I've been thinking about it. Does Zombie Man's regeneration just rely on, like, natural, so, like, eventually everything just fixes itself, or is it the fact that, like, he defeats monsters and, like, absorbs their flesh and their blood as well? Does that help towards it too? That's the only thing I can think of. It's like, yeah, it's a bit, if you guys have got any ideas about it, I'd love to hear it, but once again, no webcomic spoilers, please. I just like to make that clear with Zombie Man. In any case, the fight, like, continues after Zombie Man, like, absorbs the bat, and he's like, and this is probably, I don't know what my favourite panel is, because there's so many good stuff. Obviously, like, segment, it was probably the pillar bit, I just loved how that looked. But this is Murata's art. This is what's so good about it. He's like, alright, you want a battle of attrition, let's go. And it's like, it's just how Murata does it. Like, I'm fairly sure he draws by hand, but he might do some digital stuff as well. Only because, like, the focus on the axe when it's up close, it's just like, it's like this. my hand's a bit blurrier because it's not in focus, right? It's in focus here, but my hand's a bit blurrier because it's closer and it's slightly out of focus. That's how the axe looked, and I just love that. I just love that detail to it. And obviously, Pureblood's a bit like, uh-oh, at this point. And as the fight carries on, we don't see it, because I think, once again, Murata's like, okay, let's not waste time, you know, obviously he redid Phoenix Man Child Emperor, so he's like, okay, let's just go. And maybe this fight might have like played out a bit differently if Phoenix Man Child Emperor hadn't been redone. But in any case, we go to the end of the fight, Zombie Man is standing up like nothing has happened, and Pureblood's just lying on the floor, and we really get to know the level of Zombie Man's regeneration. And Zombie Man, and he's like, I beat you. And like, Pureblood's like, I beat you though, I beat you. He's like, yeah, it's crazy. Like, it took me you killed me at least 200 times before I killed you once. Because that's all it takes. That's how dangerous Zombie Man is, and that's why he's an S-class, is he keeps coming back. 200 times of regeneration later, it's like nothing to him, you know? And obviously, like, you know, it's like an unstoppable force, really. That's what Zombie Man is, and that's what's terrifying about him, is he keeps going until the job is done. And that's what's so cool about him, too. And he's like, yeah, shame. So obviously he goes to walk out, and he's pretty badly injured. They're like, let's take this opportunity to kill Zombie Man now. But just in that instant, like, it takes them to go, oh, we'll kill him. He's already back on his feet. And like, Zombie Man, I assumed was like an average human still, pretty much, apart from the fact of his regeneration abilities affecting it. But his strength is at least abnormal. And maybe, like, you know, to bend it, he literally like shattered his body or something to do it. But when he bends the steel bar, that steel to me is like, it was very much like, I'm not locked in here with you, you're locked in here with me, kind of thing. And it was just this amazing bit where, like, I love that, like, it was such a small little line, but it was so great. We're like, he's a fool, he's trapped us in here, let's get him, go! And then the other monster's like, no, you go! And they're like, no, you. And just like, same thing as like with the pillar, like, you just hear the noises go silent. Next thing you see, Zombie Man has come out of the room. And like, this is like the real extent we see of Zombie Man's ability. Like, obviously, like, 200 times is extremely impressive, but we didn't see that. But what we see here is, you know, we see his arm falling off, the back of his head is open, like, brain just showing, like, very badly beaten and, like, cut up, parts of his body missing, and he basically sits down and he's like, oh, better sit down, this will take a couple minutes to heal. Couple minutes? Okay, that's really impressive. And like, I wonder how it works. I imagine, like, because his arm seemed to just kind of jump up again. I want to know, like, how, like, I suppose how it works. Like, does he I don't think he regrows a new arm, but at the very least like, the arm just combined back, like, despite the fact it fell on the floor. And then at this point, Child Emperor is informing everyone of, like, you know, I've got Wagamma, let's get out of here, but just keep your wits about you, remember, and about monsters kind of thing. And Zombie Man's like, and by the time that's happened, Zombie Man's fully healed, and like, his biggest concern throughout this whole thing hasn't, obviously, like, he got pissed off against Pureblood because he kept calling him a monster or a phony human, but his biggest concern throughout this whole thing, and this really says a lot about the kind of character Zombie Man is, he's very cool and calm, is he just goes, man, I can deal with the blood, it's just the sweat that annoys me, it's just trying and exercising that's the problem, because he says that to Pureblood as well, he's like, you know, I didn't really want to get exercising, but I guess I've got no choice, like, so it was only, like, after trying, only after trying he gets annoyed, because he's like, I can deal with the blood, just not the sweat. And how does it end? Zombie Man's pretty much back to normal, and he's like, alright, let's go on another rampage, and he just carries on, and that's how the chapter ends. So, I don't really have a lot to say, I barely have stuff to say this time, but, you know, what a great introduction to Zombie Man. We get to see the extent of his ability. Well, we don't even see the full extent of his abilities. We get to see how he fights, how he thinks. You know, like, obviously, he's human, so he does get annoyed and pissed off, but most of the time he's very calm and collected, and, you know, he does what he can to outsmart and goes for the kill super quickly. I really like Zombie Man. Zombie Man's a cool character. I want to see more of him. I want to see what he can do in the future against other opponents. Like, maybe, I don't know who is... if he has to fight an executive, I don't know who would be the best fight for him. Obviously, because I don't know a lot about the executives, but... in terms of monsters, there aren't really, like, any traditional monsters among them anymore, because obviously Pureblood was, like, the vampire. There's no, like, Frankenstein monsters or werewolves or zombies or anything like that. I would say natural water might be interesting. I only say that because Zombie Man is pretty much, obviously, like, you know, he can regenerate, but how does he cope against an opponent who he can't really hurt? That, I suppose, that's just going to be an interesting fight no matter who goes up against evil natural water. But yes, Overall, once again, love this chapter. Amazing art, like always. Great introduction. This is how an S-Class character can be introduced in just one chapter. I think it's basically the example to set for introduction for characters of S-Class level. But yes, that's pretty much all I gotta say. What did you think? Did you love this chapter? Did you hate it? It was very different to what we've got recently with the fights, like in Flashy Flash with the super speeds and the battles, like, you know, the massive battle against Phoenix Man. So if you didn't like it, that might be why, just because it's a bit different. But if it's for another reason, let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe if you want to see more. Give it a like if you like this review, and you know all the drills. No, that was last chapter. Get it? The Brave Giant. Ha 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 ha. There's got to be a joke. Turned it on. I'm dead inside!